Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing good today. Trying to get my stuff set up. There we go. I'm out of cryptic packs, which stinks because we just had a cryptic tournament this past weekend. So we're gonna open up some FaB Uprising. Our new drill is 3 packs or we get a hit. That's kind of where we're at. While we're opening this up, I want to actually have a discussion with you on textless cards. There's a huge debate on cryptic TCG. So there was a player who was running textless Patreon cards. He was playing against a new player that said he had just lots of meat. I know we're not specifically calling him out, but I will say this. He did give the other player options, you know, hey, do you want me to switch it? I have them all. And the player was like, no, just leave it. And then he won off of a very important text box that one of the characters had, which was, I believe it was Nidar, who can sack himself, give someone haste, essentially. I forget what we call it in cryptic. It makes sense in cryptic. Haste, I don't think makes sense. What is it? It starts with an E. Anyways, point being, there's a huge chat on that. And somebody, obviously a friend of his, was defending him, saying, hey, he's got all the cards with the text boxes. Like, he kept asking him, you know, like, this. I think there's a question of the difference between what's illegal and fair and what we as a new game need to be doing. Kind of, it's like that question between what's lawful and moral, right? Just because it's doesn't necessarily make it morally right. And I think in this case it's kind of that. What up, Mike? As mean muggin'. So I'm kind of in the camp of, I think that kind of was a jerk move. Oh, okay, we hit it. We hit it, guys. We hit our hit. It's a marvel. That's my first marvel. That's beautiful. Wow, I love that. That is so cool. So I think we kind of hit the, wow, there's nothing in this, but that is beautiful. I kind of like what is right versus what is. Just because it's legal doesn't mean that you should do it. So I'm of the opinion, if you have text-based box cards or textless cards, don't use them, especially in a young TCG. I think that kind of makes you look like a jerk. Whether or not you are a jerk is a different story, but I think it does. Wow, yeah, that's a beautiful card. But yeah, so that's my quick chat of the morning, because I thought we were gonna have to get through more packs. This is FaB TCG where you have 3 or 4 packs. But yeah, I do actually think we are gonna start bringing back the podcast. I think we're gonna talk about that on Wednesday, of like doing things that don't necessarily help the game grow, right? Like, those are beautiful cards, but that player who'd only been playing for a week had a terrible experience because you didn't want to be nice enough to just switch the cards. Even though, yes, you gave them the option. But as a new player, like, you don't know how prevalent textless cards are. You might think, oh, everybody plays with textless cards or things like that, and you don't want to be that jerk that's like, yes, change them. That player who's had the textless cards went on to the top 8. So cardboard cards, I used to play a ton of FaB. This is all I have to open. I have a lot of FaB. right now is FaB. I've been moving away from FaB just because I just think here's kind of my thing on FaB. After I complain about people playing with textless cards, FaB is probably one of the best games ever designed. They have made decisions that I don't necessarily agree with, as well as yeah, sorry. Okay, it looks like I think my audio is back. So FaB is probably one of the best designed games ever. They've just made decisions, kind of number one with how they distribute, right? One legendary in a case, I don't think is the correct move on an indie game. They've also made some professional decisions of cutting out certain people just because they don't agree with what they've said. I'm very much against censorship in general. I don't think people should be censored unless we're talking like death threats and stuff like that. Like, that's not acceptable. It's a card game, for crying out loud. But speculating and things like that, or even just saying I have an inside source, even though, let's face it, you probably don't. That happens all the time in movies. That happens all the time in video games, leaks, things like that, hey, we don't really think that the source is accurate, but we don't, MTG, right? All of the rares got leaked, but people aren't being banned over it, especially speculating. But yeah, I do think it is probably one of the best designed games. Design-wise, it's probably one of the best games out there, by far. Whether it's not for you is a different story, right? Like, if you just look at it from a strictly design perspective, and this is coming from me who designs stuff. So that's just, we have so much FaB. We are actually looking at kind of downgrading out of FaB. Not downgrading. We just have so much FaB and so much extra stuff that we're actually looking to just kind of offload some of it. Yeah, Cardboard Cohorts. I'm just going to read what you said because it's completely true. When they dropped the game during COVID, they had to appease new players, give them what they wanted. Now that they have grown and financially successful, they don't need to appease anymore. Yes and no. Yeah, that's the problem. So it reminds me a lot of how WotC operates these days. The problem, I think... Yeah, that's a great point. So it's actually less... I think LSS functions less like WotC, actually. Because WotC, for the most part, doesn't care if people say shit about their game or whatever. They literally don't care. They're going to sell. LSS obviously cares way more. They're a young game. They're an indie game. But I also think you have to approach it from, like, we're a big organization even though we're not. So, like, I see it on both sides, right? But LSS overall, I think some of their current business decisions are doing better. Like, they've put a lot of the hits into the Marvel slot instead of, hey, here's a legendary. They dropped the legendary rate, so, like, I think legendaries, like, went out of two and a half box. I'd like to see it more. I think a legendary really should be one in every box. Let's be real. I think that there's still too much. And you look at things like Tunic. Oh, I lost audio. You look at things like Tunic. My is freaking out because that's where the audio is coming from. But you look at things like Tunic. You look at things, some of the staples being $200-$300. We do have a grudge. Mean Mugging Games in our chat, who's my counterpart Mike, says, let's be honest, we have a grudge. LOL, at least I do. We do have a grudge. But I think it's a well-earned grudge, honestly. And for me, it's less of like just more just killed it for me. When it comes to people critiquing their game, they're a lot like MetaZoo. If you say anything bad, you're ostracized. Yes, and that's how a lot of these indie TCG games. I was never into indie MetaZoo, but I have heard of stories of that happening. So I think you take the good with the bad, right? I don't know. I don't know that there's a direct answer to it. I think as an TCG, right, your name is all you have, so you want to get rid of those people that you think are bad for your game. But like I said, I'm also coming from the kind of American background. Kind of that American background of don't censor. I think that there's a line between it. Because I do think people spread misinformation is a big deal. I'm kind of in the middle where use your best judgment. Back. Anyways, I'm gonna go before my technology completely dies. But yeah. Yes, being cardboard cohorts, being toxic and having an opinion are two different things. 100%. I think people have a hard time understanding the difference between toxicity and a difference of opinion. So I do think like that's 100%. I actually work on designing stuff. That is, if you said anything bad about our game, the band didn't matter if it was positive or not. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about MetaZoo or what went on with that. See Mike as the CEO of MetaZoo. He's really good at making business decisions and really trying to build the brand up. But that doesn't necessarily always mean he's a good decision maker on every front, right? And so part of it is just like, you know, these small indie companies, I think they do the best that they can, but they don't run it the way that I necessarily agree with. So yeah. Oh, Mike's calling this out. We're doing a giveaway for all who are here. If we hit 300 boxes of Cryptic, or 300, we're going to do a box of Cryptic. So at 300 subs, we're going to give away a box of Cryptic. We're pulling together a slide. We're going to put it in the description. We're going to start doing default in description so people can see that. But yeah, anyways, I've been on here way too long. Everybody have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow. We covered a lot of weird topics today for just one pack. But I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Be yourself, be good to each other. I will see you tomorrow.